said the Lions won a game. Man, we going all the way.
And we're back, episode 23 here of Great Lakes State football, talking every level of football in the state of Michigan. I'm Vince.
And I'm Kory, and welcome back. Another
Brett
great episode.
Is not with us. Our other co-host, Brett Johnson, is in the beautiful state of California and unfortunately will not be here. He's here in spirit. He cheers us with a picture on the beach, him drinking a high noon in the sunny weather. We're very jealous, although it was pretty nice here today. So we're enjoying some nice weather, just not on a beach.
He's on paternity leave.
That is true.
Born a year ago. So
his company, gave him a nice delayed paternity leave. So we're jealous. He's having a good time though. But we're excited here, episode 23, to be talking football here, everything in the state of Michigan. Not a lot in terms of news or topics to discuss of anything current going on. A few things we will mention. We're more excited to bring to you guys our conversation with our guest. We will be talking here with Coach Pardonnet. Jacob Pardonnet is the defensive coordinator at Hope College, was just hired back in March after Mike Ricketts, longtime defensive coordinator at Hope College, legendary coach here in the state of Michigan, retired. And then James Ross, University of Michigan, former football player, had stepped in and was hired initially before getting a job offer at Cincinnati under Luke Fickell as a position coach. So he was the defensive coordinator for all of like a week or two before Coach Pardonnet, who at the time was coaching at FCS school, Bryant out in Rhode Island, got the call and the job offer. So we'll be having a discussion with him on a variety of topics. Very excited to bring in that discussion. Before we get to that, just a couple things we're going to mention here. First, with MHSAA summer camp circuit, in our last episode we kind of brought this up, but if you are a high school athlete, football player who enjoys listening to our podcast, we figured we would bring it up, that if you are actively looking to play college football at any level, make sure you know the summer camp circuit is still going. Check all of the Twitter pages of any of our football programs here in the state of Michigan. You know, our D3 schools, Albion, Adrian, Hope, Kalamazoo, Olivet, Alma. D2 schools, got a whole bunch of D2 schools doing camps: Hillsdale, Ferris State, Grand Valley, Northwood, Saginaw Valley, Wayne State, Davenport, Northern Tech. Most of those schools do combined camps as well, where they're all coming to the same showcase. Yep. And then obviously Eastern, Western, and Central are doing camps. Michigan State just had a big camp, and I think Michigan's camp is coming. I know Kory and I both went to Michigan's football camp when we were in high school. They do like a 3-day weekend camp that at least they did at the time. We got to stay in the dorms, and it was a lot of fun. So, and Brett and I did that one together. So if you're looking to play college football, definitely check out those schools' websites and Twitter pages for their camps, and sign up for that stuff. Get your name out there. Only other thing we want to mention with MHSAA, not any coaching hire or any other news that we're aware of currently going around here in the state of Michigan with high school football. But our next regional ranking, our last one was the Detroit region, which we did about 5 or 6 weeks ago. So it's been a little bit since we did our last one. A little over a month. We'd like to put out 2 more regions before we do our statewide regional ranking by win percentage since 2010. So we'll probably do Battle Creek, Kazoo next, followed by Jackson, Ann Arbor, and then our statewide one. Hopefully have all 3 of those out by the end of July. We're hoping this week. My plan is, now that I'm done teaching, our school is out. We got out late last week, so I got a little bit more time on my hands in between coaching football here that I'll be trying to put together that Kalamazoo Battle Creek region. Nothing that we have across our desks here, across the news desk in our fancy offices. I'm just in a basement. Kory's in a guest bedroom office at his house, but nothing that we're aware of to talk to you guys about here in terms of D3, NAIA, D2, the MAC schools, Michigan State, outside of recruiting is going hard still right now. You follow any of those schools on their Twitter pages, there's lots of recruits that are coming in and out, and again with the prospect camps and things like that. But most coaching hires at this point have kind of settled down by the time you're getting into the heat of the summer. It's just recruiting and camps. One other thing, couple other things we want to mention here with our pro teams in the state of Michigan. Obviously, Michigan Panthers are not yet located here in the state of Michigan, but we are very excited about this team in terms of the league, the USFL in the future. So the USFL just finished their inaugural league. Even though there was 2 or 3 seasons of the USFL back in the late 80s, they say that they no longer have any affiliation with that league, so they consider this their inaugural season. They did 10 weeks of a regular season. Unfortunately, our Michigan Panthers finished finished up as the second worst team in the league at 2-8.
On brand.
Very on brand for Michigan sports teams right now. Michigan Panthers were I was telling Kory, pretty well supported on Twitter, though. Obviously, Michigan sport fans yearning. We love our sports, but we're just yearning, trying to find any successful team we can, latch onto at this point. And it's not the Panthers, at least not this year. So
we want to eat some W's, baby. We want to eat some W's, and unfortunately, we just can't find them in the state of Michigan for any sport. So,
in the words of the legendary Jameis Winston, eating a W. Yeah, right. So the USFL, finished up 10 weeks. They're doing a 2-round playoff, a 4-team playoff. So there's going to be semifinals and a championship game on June 25th down at the Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton, Ohio. And the 4 teams that made it are the Stallions at 9-1 and the Generals at 9-1, Stars and Breakers at 6-4. So those 4 teams will be battling it out for the championship of the inaugural season of the USFL. I'm pretty excited about this. I was just talking about it with Kory. I can't think of an outdoor semi-pro football league in the United States, in the shadow of the NFL, that has recently made it through a regular season and is like ready to go for to do a playoffs, have a championship game. What was the league? AAF, the American Alliance of Football. Like, it was like around COVID or right before COVID. They folded during the season.
4 weeks in or 7 weeks in?
Well, they went bankrupt.
4 or 7, yeah.
Yeah, they went bankrupt pretty quick. The big thing about this league that's exciting is their network TV deals. Fox has a huge multi-million-dollar deal for 3 years set up with this league. So I think that revenue, that ad and sponsorship money will keep this league successful. At least right now. They did all the games down in Birmingham, Alabama, just to test it out. And obviously they were successful in getting through the season. Now, once they apparently next year are going to try to move some of these games to their states, not all of them, but some of them. I think they said half will be still played in Birmingham, and then they're going to test some sites. They're going to have some test sites in some of these teams' home states for some of the other games. So, and they were hoping by year 3 to have all of these teams in their home states completely. So, fingers crossed. Obviously the XFL is also starting up here pretty soon. I think in 2023. I would love to see 2 semi-pro teams. It just gives more players opportunities to play at the next level. I mean, I think it'd be a nice thing for the NFL to have guys, ready to go, to be called up and play. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I hope these leagues work out. At the end of the day, it's just an opportunity for more football. So we'll see what happens. But our Michigan Panthers, not too great. But if you're interested, USFL playoffs, I think, are going to be on one of the Fox networks starting on June 25th. So coming in from the Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton, Ohio.
Yeah. I will bring us a little bit of Lions news, not a whole lot. The Detroit Lions did just wrap up OTAs. I was reading Tim Twentyman's kind of like recap on the OTAs, and he had some promising stuff. Some areas on the team that were kind of light from a depth perspective last year are doing much better. So wide receiver room, real deep. You had guys like Quintez Cephas, who got hurt last year, who actually may not even make the roster this year. He might be like the 5th or 6th wide receiver. So that's pretty exciting. Offensive line looks really good. We got some depth built with a couple of the draft picks from years prior. Quarterback room pretty much stays the same. They say DeAndre Swift looks amazing at running back, came in just absolutely yoked nasty, ready to just carry the ball 30, 40 times a game. So that'll be great. And then the biggest question for the Lions, which has been, I feel like, the biggest question our whole lives, Vince, is can the defense actually like show up on the field and be good? So, I mean, who knows? I have faith in Dan Campbell. So hopefully we can put a full team on the field and not like Megatron and Stafford and then no defense, or vice versa, like a really good defense and no offense. So
yeah, we've talked about it many times. We like what Dan Campbell's doing. Obviously this is year 2, and I thought how the season ended last year was a small success. They had one of the best ends to the season, in terms of around the league. Just pushing through and winning a couple games after it looked like they'd be lucky to win one game all year. And then they found where they ended up winning 3 and they had a tie. And, between that tie and 3 or 4 other games that they lost, they had a tie, and then 3 or 4 games that they lost by a field goal. Some of them were competitive field goals. Yeah.
They had a couple games that got blown out, but they were competitive probably in 90% of the games.
I would, same the majority, more than half of the games at least. They played 17 last year, so I'd say at least 10 to somewhere between 10 and 12 games. Yeah, because there were probably about 5 or so that were ugly. But probably close to 12, 11 or 12 games that they were at least competing. They won 3 of them, tied 1. So look,
they got rid of their OC in the middle of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't get fired to the end of the year.
Dan Campbell was calling plays late.
He took over about week 6.
Yeah, he was calling plays. We'll see. I mean, Lions fans are always, get too excited and then get disappointed. It's just disappointment. There was, I don't know if you saw. Win the North. Did you see on Twitter? I can't remember what Twitter account it was. I think it was a major sports outlet put out a tweet. I think it was this last week that it was a ranking of all NFL teams by playoff wins in the Super Bowl era. And the Lions were dead last with 1. And I think the next one above them was even like 4, had like 4 or 5, and the Lions had terrible. 1. Yeah, it's just.
I did just find out I'm going to the Lions-Vikings game in Minneapolis. So
you taking me with you?
I am not. I'm going with
Zach
Sexton. Sorry,
it's messed up. I'll just see myself out.
I didn't order the ticket. Not on me.
All right, I'm just giving you crap. All right, so go ahead.
I was just gonna say we're gonna be in Minnesota, and I might be so hammered that I blow the horn in the stadium. So
I would be excited. That stadium looks sweet.
Yeah,
check that out. Well, all right, we're going to wrap this up and get into our conversation here. The part of the podcast that we are very excited to bring you. There's not a whole lot, obviously, to chat about before talking with Coach Pardonnet here, but hope you enjoy our conversation with Coach Pardonnet. Stay on afterwards for our recommendation of the week. Going to go ahead and segue into the second portion of the podcast here for episode 23 with our guest. And tonight we have on Jacob Pardonnet, who is a 2014 grad from Brighton High School. And then he went on to play college football at Hope College. Was a 2018 grad. He was a 3-year starter at defensive back there. Econ and business management major. Ended up being a GA or a student assistant at Hope for a season before moving on to Bryant University, FCS school in Rhode Island for 3 seasons. And just this off season, this past spring, he got hired to come back to his alma mater at Hope College, following in the footsteps of legendary defensive coordinator Mike Ricketts, who we'll talk about a little bit here. Coach Pardonnet, welcome. How you doing?
Hey, how we doing, fellas? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Like I said before we started recording, anytime we have a chance to talk football, we're always excited to do that.
It's a good night.
It is. It's a good night when football's involved. That's for sure. Although we're missing the season. I'm sure as you guys just wrapped up spring ball, missing the season here, getting anxious for August to roll around. I'm sure.
Absolutely.
The recruiting grind, I'm sure, probably gets a little tedious after a while.
A little monotonous. You better have 2-3 solid pairs of coach shoes ready to rock. A lot of sun lotion and things like that, but like you said, you do all of that so you can hopefully build something in the fall, and that's what we're looking to do.
You got to embrace the grind
while we got them. Exactly.
Embrace that grind, baby.
When do you guys start camp?
So August 10th, actually. August 10th is when the guys roll back in. We've got a good chunk of guys actually living in the area still, which I know was something kind of common for at least upperclassmen when I was here, but that
even in the summer, they're living there in the summer.
Yeah. So that's something that a lot of upperclassmen when I was around at least took advantage of, and I mean you can find college housing that's pretty affordable if you've got the right job for it, and I think that those numbers have started to increase even from when I was here 5 years ago or whatever it is at this point, but. It's good to see some guys that are hitting the weight room and on their own in the early morning and hitting the field and things like that. So,
do you guys have any sort of Sorry, go ahead, Kory.
I was just going to say it makes such a difference. I was actually just talking to some friends of ours, she played basketball at Iowa, and she said everybody at the D1 level stays all summer long. And I said that was probably one of our biggest gaps at Northwood, is that we didn't have enough guys buying in and staying like all summer, which makes such a massive difference. We're like at the GVs of the world and those places, like the guys stay all summer, and it just works.
Well, I mean, that was something that, especially if I could just segue into the Bryant stuff a little bit, that was one of our biggest battles to compete in our mind, was to how can we get guys in the strength and conditioning center with the strength coach on a regimented meal schedule for more time than they're out of it in the summer, right? So how could we fundraise or whatever it is to get guys back on campus and just make sure that schedule that they were so used to in the spring and that off-season conditioning, it transitioned into another 5-week program. And, we were able actually to do that at Bryant with our 2 deep. So we didn't have enough funding to go for the full roster. But even from that transition, I mean, we kind of had a similar flip in terms of success at Bryant to what we had at Hope when I was playing. I think a big piece of that coming off of that COVID year was having those 5-6 extra weeks where guys are just still hammering it together and, in the weight room and conditioning on the field. And like I said, eating in the dining hall or whatever it was. So like you said, I mean, it's huge. It's the value you can't
it's exponential. Value. Yeah. You can't even, granted, like I had a successful career, but Vince and I, like there was probably a group of Vince, 4 or 5 of us that all trained together in the off season, that all played D2 college or D3 college somewhere. So
in the area where we lived at when we went home. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. So like we kind of had like our own clique going on, but a lot of kids like don't, and a lot of guys don't know how to train and don't know how to eat and don't know how to sleep, don't know how to supplement. Like there's a lot of things that people don't know how to do, where if you can, like you said, keep them there, it helps so much. It's like unbelievable.
Well, I mean, I don't care how talented or how hardworking you are. There's a different level of success you reach when you have guys pushing each other in the weight room. I mean, at any level of any sport, I mean, working out by yourself just isn't the same as being with your teammates and pushing each other in the weight room. That extra level of competition in that world and that aspect of the game is just a whole nother, pushes you to a whole nother level of success. I would argue
you got to be a different cat. You got to be, that's why dudes like Kobe are, who they are, right? Where they're immortalized with their edge, just because they didn't need somebody to tell them what the hell to do, right? He's going to do it regardless, So I always that's something I tell the guys as well. Everybody, the path is going to look like this. It's not going to be a straight shot. You're going to be down one day, but that's why there's 10 dudes on the field to hopefully pull your ass back up.
Bring you back up, baby.
That's kind of we're obviously shoot for, what is it? Remember the Titans, the deal. We're chasing perfection and whatever it is. But that's kind of the mindset, and I think that's a realistic tone to set. But if you put yourself in those situations, right? You guys said that you worked together in the off season, went back home or whatever like that. If that's what sets you up for the best situation, instead of just lifting some dumbbells up in the basement, like that's what we got to do, So I think it's great, and that's what as a football guy, that's what I think pushes me to be the best I could be too. So being around guys that were similar mindsets and pushing it every day. So
you got to find that group, even with your teammates. I mean, I don't know how you guys do it at Hope, but when I played at Hillsdale, like we had certain times that we lifted, but within the guys that were in those groups, you found your guys that you worked out with who pushed you the best, or at least were lifting around the same weight that you were lifting. Obviously, can't if you're a wide receiver, you're not lifting with an offensive lineman, obviously, but you're trying to find that group of guys to help push you, at your level, which again, that's the kind of team camaraderie you want to build. Before we get too deep into Hope College and current coaching and stuff, I just want to rewind a little bit, ask you a couple questions here about kind of your journey to reach the point that you're at. Obviously I mentioned, when I introduced you, you came out of Brighton High School, very successful Division I football program, between Lansing and Detroit, and coming out in 2014. What was the decision-making process in terms of you going to Hope College. There's one individual we were talking about a little bit that I'm sure it's something to do with it, but you just want to kind of share your experience in terms of that decision to play at the next level and choosing Hope over in Holland, Michigan.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, much like any kid, right? Any guy that wanted to compete post high school, I thought I was going to be, wearing maize and blue and running under that banner and slapping it. And
yeah, I thought I was green and white, baby.
Right. So we all thought that at one point, and reality strikes soon enough. But I had camped pretty much everywhere going into my senior year, and I mean, my dad was all about it, and we had decided that we were just going to go to some more feasible schools within that whatever radius it was. So, I mean, I think the first one we went to was down in probably Dayton, Ohio, but we had kind of just struck out some different schools, and that's the kind of the camp tour that we were going on. And there was one dude that I'd see at every single camp that I went to, and it was this guy in orange and blue, and his name was Mike Ricketts, and he was just everywhere. And I mean, I had not actually heard of Hope. I didn't know where it was at. I didn't know what it was about until Coach Ricketts actually started recruiting me and coming through on school visits. And like we were talking about earlier with the voicemails and the handwrittens, and the man he was just everywhere. He was just constant. And I think it was funny listening to you guys say a similar story. I think that if you're east of Lansing and from that general area or east, you got a handwritten note from Mike Ricketts at some point within the past 20 years or whatever it is. So,
and maybe a voicemail too.
Definitely a voicemail, and it was definitely scripted, and it was the same. But I mean, he did a great job of just introducing the school to me, and I ended up going on a visit. That was just a horrible day. It was freezing cold, and it was in December or January or somewhere in there. And to be honest, like I think it was on break. I don't remember seeing that many students if the campus was even, alive at that point. But I made my decision later in April, and it was kind of up to if I wanted to play college football, it was going to be Hope. And if I decided to hang them up, it was going to be just go to Michigan State. And, a bunch of my friends had decided that's where they were going. So I was just going to follow them, and that was going to be it. But I decided that, I wasn't done playing. So Hope ended up being the spot, and, didn't look back. So that was kind of it was more so tripped and fell into it than it was a driving decision. And I think that's something that at least if not myself, I know the rest of the staff has put a big goal on just emphasizing the education piece, like getting the brand out there, and letting people know that are a 3-hour commute, 4-hour commute within that radius, what Hope is and where it's at, because I think it's a really, really special place that not enough people know about. So, I mean, I'm trying to do my best Mike Ricketts impression and hit the boots on the ground and get the brand out there as much as I can.
We're giving you a platform here, man. We'll have you plug at the end.
Hey, I got that.
DJ Jake, go to Hope. DJ Jake, go to Hope.
Let's broadcast this thing. So,
hey, I'll throw it out there too, man. It's a nice campus. I had a college buddy who got married in Holland last August, and I hadn't been on campus probably since I did a recruiting visit. I did a visit to Hope College when I was in high school too with Coach Ricketts, and I remember the weight room blew me away. I had not seen anything like that before in terms of like a small private college. It's just beautiful weight room. And now you guys have an incredibly gorgeous stadium that football, because at the time when I went and visited in 2010 or 2011, it was a municipal field that I think they were sharing with Holland High School, maybe, or Holland Christian, or.
Yeah, it still is a municipal field. But the Hope brand is, like you said, become a lot more, I don't know what the word is, but it's more prevalent within that stadium.
It's got the beautiful brick everything.
Yeah. It used to be you get a nice warm up before a practice or a game with about a half mile, not a half mile, but a pretty far walk to the locker room that was a little bit across the way there. But It's a brand new $5 million facility. It's right in the end zone. And I think that it really brought a lot of good energy to the guys, to the campus. And I know we love to show it off, and
sweet.
I think it's what I tell a lot to our recruits is it's just a sign of things to come. And hope's growing, so you want to play at a place where, the people got your back, the administration's got your back, the community's got your back. And when you take a look around at Holland and some of the new development that's been going on, even since I was there, it's pretty impressive. So come see it. Everybody come check it out.
You're leaving out one of the best parts. You're right on Lake Michigan, right there, man.
Right there.
You're right next to the beach. Right next to the beach. When you have time between football and classes, if you have time. If you stay on, like you said, if you stay on campus during the summer, you can go spend some time on the beach. That's for sure.
Exactly.
So going back a little bit again to your time playing there, obviously chose Hope College after it sounds like, an interesting visit with the crappy weather, but Mike Ricketts, he held on to you tight, got you to come to campus, and you spent 4 years there, 3 years as a starter. And then obviously your last 2 seasons were under the current head coach Sturzma, who we'll get into him and his pretty crazy success he's been having in six years. I think he's been there for 6 or 7 years now. You want to talk a little bit about your time playing there? I was really interested too in hearing about your experience being a part of the team that went from 2-8 to 7-3. That 5-win improvement under Sturzma is pretty wild. I'd be curious to kind of hear what that culture change was like.
Yeah. So obviously 2-8 is not what anybody was looking to do when we all kind of laced up that year, but we had felt that it was just a lot of, you look at it when it's there's a lot of unfortunate circumstances and a lot of close games that just didn't tip our way on the final scoreboard. But so that's kind of the result that ended up from that. I still am close with a lot of those guys that played on that team, and we definitely had the talent that was on that team was not reflected in that record,
the final record.
Right. So we had kind of, after that, the fallout and all that had happened, and the staff kind of overturned and overhauled there. We were without a coach for a good few months, or what felt like a few months. It might have been a little bit shorter than that. It was kind of a collective decision by the guys on that team that were left over, the underclassmen, to we are not doing what just happened again. We kind of made that decision that whatever we had to do, we had to find this new level, whether it was commitment, extra hours in the weight room, whatever it was, to kind of push that needle. And we had no metric for what winning took at that point, right? So a lot of us were still really young. We had played a lot of young guys that, I think it was that 2015 season. We were hungry, and I really think what we needed more than anything was just somebody to kind of kick us in the butt and to believe in us. That's what at least it felt like from the collective group, just overall, as we were kind of going through the coach search process. We just need somebody that was just going to just full out support us and want to just keep on going in this thing and
rejuvenate the program. Yeah.
Rejuvenate it. Bring a lot of new energy and just realize that, hey, we're not what this record says, right? We're not 2-8. We're not a 2-8 team. We got more in the tank than that. So, and that's exactly what Coach Sturz brought to the table when he came in, was just a catalyst. Here was wherever the juice level was at, it got brought up times 10.
Do you remember at what point in the year he came in?
So I think it was February. I want to say it was February, somewhere in that range. And I just remember it stood out to me. I was actually on the student panel. I don't remember how many of us there wasn't.
Oh, they brought in some players to help in the process.
Right. So there was only a few of us in there. But I was part of that panel, and I remember asking him questions about. I asked every candidate kind of what their goal was or what they envisioned for the program. And I knew the answer, or I knew when I knew that Sturs was the answer, was when I said, I asked every candidate, what's your goal? What's your mission? And they'd give me some answer about just, we want to win the MIAA. We want to do this, whatever. And it felt just kind of rehearsed. And then Sturs came in and he's like, we're going to win the whole damn thing. We're going to take the top off this thing. And you put a team in front of us. We're going to freaking run through them. And he was the first one to say, screw a conference championship. Why not a national championship? Why not go beyond,
setting the goal high, setting the goals
right.
high.
And that's the kind of mindset that the dude brings every single day is, why are we setting the bar here when we got so much more to give? So that rallying cry for at least the guys when I was playing was like so easy to fall into and follow. We were just so hungry to get behind that type of mindset. And then to kind of, it's obvious as time's gone on, it's pretty easy for teams to get behind that type of guy and to really play hard for a dude like that. So, and I think that that's a big reason they've had so much success, is not so much that, because Sturs ain't the one making the touchdown runs and the interceptions and the sacks out there. It's the guys. But I think that the guys really just needed someone to believe in them, and Sturs is the best at that, for sure.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know, did you guys know when he came in, or do you remember that he was at the time and still is one of only two coaches, or I think two coaches, but two programs, and he was the coach, to win 5 straight state championships in Michigan high school history?
So we didn't know. I didn't know that. I didn't know it was 5 in a row. We did get kind of, I don't know if it was a printout or we just got like filled in about each candidate, about where they were from or whatever, and we did our own research. But we had a pretty good idea of just what each guy had done before, and we knew that he was a Hope alum, and then we knew he was basically in Ford Field every other year, if not every year, when he was at East Grand Rapids. So yeah, I mean, we knew the guy was a winner. We knew he knew how to put together, a team on the field that was going to go out and do what it had to do. So it was very evident why, when he came in and gave his talk to the team, they had been winning as many games as they had.
Well, I mean, yeah, he won 7 state championships at East Grand Rapids, and at 1.5 in a row from 2006 to 2010, which is just unbelievable. And then in between there was like 3 or 4 other semifinal appearances. I mean, the dude's success in high school is one of the greatest in state history.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was there for 15 seasons. Yeah, so to have a 50% hit rate on state championships in your time as a high school coach is,
it's unbelievable.
It's crazy.
Right, that's enough said.
It would be something I would think too, as a player, when you guys were at Hope there, seeing someone like that come in, especially them to see that energy. It would be, I feel like the word infectious comes to mind. It'd be hard not to buy in when the guy has proven, that he knows what he's doing. I mean, he's won a lot of games, and obviously college football, even at the D3 level, it's a big step up from high school. And
no doubt.
It's not an easy task, especially coming off a 2-8 season. But when you got a guy like that, and Tony Anise is another one who comes to mind, that side of the state, who does similar things, just comes in and, gets everyone to buy in. It's hard not to get excited.
Right. No, I mean, the excitement, I think, is one thing. I got one more actually story that I want to. Can you guys see me? Is the lighting all right in here?
Oh yeah, you're good, man.
At the light. Sir, I was actually in a sling at the time. This is all like, as we're talking about, it's coming back to me. But I just got in labor room surgery on my left arm. Was my left one or my right one? I got them both. I don't remember what.
Oh God.
But he was the only coach so he's got this energy. He's firing up the team or whatever. It's a big rah-rah speech, which is what Sturs does best. And I was sitting in the back because the chairs in the back were the only ones that didn't have the armrest.
Mm-hmm.
Because armrests all jacked my position all up, so I couldn't sit on those. So I'm sitting in the way back by myself, and he walks past and he tapped me on my good arm. He tapped me on my good arm. And he's like, "Hey, we're gonna be all right, right?" And I was like, "Hell yeah!" And he walked out, and we walked out, and I was like, "That is the first dude that, like, A, said anything to the injured dude in the back, and B, made sure that I was good and that we were going to keep pushing this thing forward. So I knew, that was a testament to he just fired the whole place up, took the roof off the place, but then he was able to still say, hey, you're all right, right? Like, we're going to be good.
Was that like when he just came in, like one of his first meetings with the team too?
So that was his first meeting with the team.
Oh, that was the very first one.
That was he was in his suit. He just met the whole team. He told us what he was about, and then as he was walking out, he gave me a knock and made sure that I was all right. And kept on going. I was like, that.
Great.
When he left his interview, did everybody just start like tackling each other? Or like, I mean, what was the feeling like during the interview? Was it like, yeah, that was the guy?
Yeah, we just rolled the shoulder pads out and got hit.
Running through brick walls. We're doing
Oklahomas with the president of the university right now. Bring it
on. Right.
I love it. That's a great story. That just shows you though. I mean, I don't know how you couldn't, just not only be excited, but it sounds like, I'm trying to think of like the right word, like just a feeling of confidence, but also, almost like he's building camaraderie right off the bat, a sense of community. If like you mentioned, he's coming up to, an injured guy in the back, every single person in the room, he's, taking time out of his, that moment where it could be about me, cause I'm coming in, I'm the new coach, but he's taking his time, quietly to come say something to you. So that's got to make you feel, like he's really building something immediately. And, he's that's what he's about. And
that's just who he is, man.
Wow.
That's just who he is. He's that type of dude. So
I love it.
Cool.
Well, so obviously after you finished your time playing at Hope in 2018, I know we'll get to you coaching at Hope here again, but obviously I know you spent a season there as a student assistant, which I'm sure some of those things will come back up here. I figured, although we'll push ahead to Bryant, you already talked about this for a little bit, but from 2019 to through last season, fall of 2021, you were coaching at FCS school, Bryant University in Rhode Island. Be curious to hear what that experience was like and how you ended up over there, how that process worked in terms of getting a job with that program.
Yeah, so I actually was a student assistant at Hope just for the spring ball.
Oh, gotcha.
And I knew that I wanted to coach in some regard. I remember my dad, the last time you play a football game, right, is a pretty emotional experience.
Yep.
I remember just kind of being unfazed by it. And my dad kind of asked, what was up. And I was just like, I don't know. I'm going to be around this game for a long time. I don't really, my body had kind of quit on me at that point. I was I was done with it. So I knew that I was going to coach and I knew I was going to be around it. I just didn't know in what capacity. So as soon as I could, I got back to just helping the guys out. So I was there for the spring in 2018. And then right after I graduated, I actually took a job in commercial insurance. So I was actually an insurance agent for 9-10 months. And I was busting my butt to get back into the game full time. And so through a lot of different turns and winding roads, I ended up at Bryant, which is, like you said, an FCS school out in Rhode Island. And I was the GA there, the defensive GA for 2 seasons. And kind of within that second year, I kind of got slid into a position coach role. So I still had that GA responsibility, but I also kind of inherited the safeties as well. And then from there, the next year, I was just coaching the safeties after I finished up my master's and all of that. And it was a different world. I'm not going to go from to D3 to scholarship football. I think was just a little bit different. Just I'm more so on the business side. Obviously, the level of football and things, or the speed of the game is probably elevated a little bit, but like you said, college ball is college ball.
Yeah, the talent, the best guys are always. I mean, the talent's always the there. The thing I always tell people is the difference, for like D2 and D3 is just the depth, right? Like some of the top players on really good D2 and D3 teams probably could have played at a higher level. They just develop while they're at those schools. And then the depth isn't there. Like the second, third string guys in Michigan State could play anywhere. Whereas the second, third string guys at a Hillsdale or Northwood or Hope might be a walk-on, or, didn't maybe shouldn't be on the team. So it just, that's the big thing to me. Always, I tell people, is the depth.
Sure. I think you're spot on with that. And I think that was something that we kind of framed into reference to. Like, I think that the guy that I was looking for at Bryant, he's not the same guy per se, but I'm still looking for a college football player at the end of the day, right? Yep. Like, can you play ball?
Yeah.
Do you have the physical and mental capability to get that job done at a high level? So, I mean, maybe it's a step or two off of your 40 time that knocks you down a division or two, and that's fine. And I think a lot of the times I want that. Yep. A lot of the times I'm like, hey, don't sweat a 4.9 at the 5th camp that you've been to this summer.
Yep.
Okay. You're still a hell of a ball player, and I want to see you thump around, not run the 40 in a straight line at a camp. Right?
Oh yeah. Then there's a 40-yard dash, and there's game speed. There's
Sure.
Jim Harbaugh says it best. He's trying to find ball players.
Right.
And he's changed his recruiting strategy over the last 5 years for that one reason. I want to find people who want to play football. That's what I'm looking for.
And that I think is that's consistent regardless of where you're going to go. I know, but the scholarship piece is a little bit, like I said, a little bit different. And I think it was a great growing experience, and having an area and being able to nail down, okay, this type of guy is what we need this specific role for, and now I got to go to the head coach, and that's not something that we really do at Hope. Or how much money are we willing to put towards it?
Can FCS break up their scholarships like D2?
So it's just like Division 2,
okay.
where they can parcel them out. So that was, I think, a really unique experience just to see how things worked on the back end at that level, and just how you have to get creative in roster management and things like that with the class that you're bringing in. So I think that would probably be one of the bigger just operational takeaways that I got from Bryant, was just, like I said, seeing that roster management more than anything.
How did you end up out at Bryant? I guess I didn't know if you answered that question in terms of what led you to Rhode Island to find that job out there. Was that was that ever something you anticipated, was going to the East Coast of the country to, find a coaching job?
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, no, not at all. I had, when I was at that insurance job, I was sending out probably, I don't even know however many job applications I was. Okay. At the time. I knew
that job app grind, baby.
I had a little spite in my brain at the time. So I actually have a journal that I log every single job application and email that I had sent out.
Wow.
And the number sits around actually like 115. So there's 115 that are logged in there. And I actually got 5 calls back.
Oh.
And one of those actually ended up being Bryant. So I
gotcha.
I didn't know anything about the East Coast. I didn't know anything about, I didn't even know what Bryant was, where it was, what.
You just were finding job assistant coaches, GA positions, and applying all over.
Whatever I could do to get back into football is what I was aiming to do. And the DC, that was a guy named Tom Masella, who's actually the head coach at Wagner in Staten Island now. He called me up, and the only reason that he had given me a phone call is just because he knew a guy that went to Hope, and he liked the guy.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
It's about who you know, not what you know.
It's about who you know, not what you know, baby. Yeah.
And he said that was kind of the only reason that he picked up the phone, because he had about a stack of 800 applicants on his desk for
good Lord
that one spot. So I mean, I was just fired up to get some sort of coaching job back under my belt, and moved out filled up my Ford Escape, and drove her out to Rhode Island, and the rest was history after that. So
how was Rhode Island? That's a place I've always wanted to go.
Oh, it's great, man. It's great.
I've heard it's beautiful.
It's got some great, beaches. It's right next to the ocean. Newport, Rhode Island, unbelievable. It's like 45 minutes from Boston. Like, it was. I had a great time. Yeah, I had a great time over there.
I'm sure the winters were probably just as brutal as Michigan.
So actually, I mean, it was as cold for sure. I'm used to this lake.
The lake effect stuff, snow, right? Yeah.
So the snow out there, I was like, man, they always talk about nor'easters. That's kind of the big
yeah.
snowstorm out there. So they would get like 2 or 3 big nor'easters every winter, and I'm like, guys, this is an every other week deal in Holland. So
Yeah.
but it was a great time, man. I learned a whole bunch. I got to work with some great people. You know, I met a bunch of different friends, and that's kind of the beauty of getting at a stop like that is a lot of guys branch off in different directions. And I mean, one of my best friends is over at Rutgers now, another one's at Boston College, and
Awesome.
to see that kind of tree grow so quick. I mean, I was only out there for 3 years, going on 3 years, and just to have those guys and, you know, be so tight so quick is awesome. That's what it's all about. So it was a great experience.
I love it, man. That's awesome. I'll have to take some time to go out to Rhode Island at some point. Sounds like a
highly
place to
recommended.
visit.
Highly recommended.
I know my wife and I want to do an East Coast like road trip. We did a road trip out west a few years ago. I'd like to do an East Coast one. That'd be a lot of fun. Got to try some good seafood, I'm sure, out there.
Absolutely. Lobster, the whole 9.
Oh yeah, that's the big one. Yeah, you got to do that. So obviously 2019, 2021, spend your time out there at Bryant, and this offseason hired back at your alma mater. Kind of a crazy series of events. I'm not sure if, you know, there's any snippets or, you know, anecdotes you want to share regarding this. But obviously the kind of the big news or, you know, headline grabbing one was James Ross. Initially, Mike Ricketts, first of all, retiring was big news. Was, as you mentioned, I mean, even if you didn't play for Mike Ricketts, if you were being recruited to play college football in the West Side or many areas of the state of Michigan, you probably knew who Mike Ricketts was. I mean, you know, I didn't play at Hope, but, you know, I did a visit and spent a lot of time talking to that guy. So I was really surprised, you know, because he's not that old. I think, was he around 60 or something? He wasn't 60 something, maybe. You know, some guys will coach, you know, until they're in their 70s. So I'm sure he just probably ready to spend time, you know, with his family and take a step back from all the years of coaching football. But obviously that was big news. And then who's going to replace this, you know, legendary defensive coach at Hope College? And they hired James Ross, who was a University of Michigan grad. And he played linebacker, I believe, at Michigan, if I remember correctly. Pretty talented football player. And he was named the DC for a month before I don't even know if it was a month. Maybe. It was pretty short. And then all of a sudden it's back in the news. Yeah, it's back in the news that he's been hired by Cincinnati. Luke Fickell and his staff, you know, Cincinnati obviously coming off a hell of a season, being the first mid-major, I believe, or non-Power 5 school to go to the college football playoffs, and James Ross gets hired coming off that season. And I think he's being hired as a position coach, though. He wasn't hired as a coordinator, but still, nonetheless, I mean, hard to turn down that opportunity. And then our guest here, Coach Pardonnet, gets hired to follow up Coach Ricketts, and then for a very short-lived period, Coach Ross. So we want to talk about that process or any little stories about all that kind of craziness there happening at Hope within about a month or so.
Yeah,
a couple months probably.
Yeah, it was. So James and I had actually been in contact right after he got hired. So he got promoted up through internally. Obviously, he was the linebackers coach last season, and then got promoted internally.
How many seasons had he been the linebackers coach?
It was just the one.
Just one season. Okay,
so
that's
what
I
last
thought.
Fall.
Yep.
And then obviously he got the privilege of being promoted up through. And we had been in communication just because you know, the coaching realm is tighter. It's more of a fraternity. So I'd reached out just to, you know, say congratulations. And we had met a few times, you know, just through crossing paths at conventions or clinics and things like that. So we were familiar, and then we started to, you know, talk a little bit about what he was thinking and, you know, could there be a potential for, you know, coming together and working together and things like that. And it had fallen through whatever after we'd had a few different conversations. And I remember hanging up the phone with him. And then a few days later, another Hope guy's calling me, except this time it's Coach Sturzma. And he's going, hey, you know, things are happening, and would you want to be the defensive coordinator at Hope College? And I was kind of like, hang on, this is not
something's not adding up here.
I had just hung up the phone with the defensive coordinator at Hope College and told him, what I was thinking. And now so things had flipped very, very quickly, which is not uncommon. That's, especially in college football, any coach, you're going to hear something crazy like this. But I mean, when Luke Fickell gives you a phone call and thinks thinks that highly of you, it's pretty hard to turn that down. So I know that I was super pumped for James. I know Coach Sturz is super pumped for James. Everyone
that's cool for Hope College too, because Hope College kind of gets in the semi into the media spotlight. Where's this James Ross coming from? Where was he coaching? Hope College. Where's that? Sure. If you're not from the state of Michigan,
And I mean, that would be it's not really Coach Sturzman's goal to kind of harbor and hang on to these guys.
Yeah,
he wants you to grow as much as anybody. So the fact that one of his guys was able to climb up and go to a playoff team last year and be a position coach, nonetheless, he was as fired up for James as James was, I think. So.
Oh yeah.
But nonetheless, I was like immediately, like that. I was like, that'd be awesome, to come back and be a part of a program that not so long ago I was playing for, and I've seen the transformation that it's made with the new staff, and I really know the fabric of what I think the culture is made of, and what Coach Sturzma is about, and all of that. And I just really believed in the mission, so it felt great to just get that job offer, and I was like, let's hit the ground running. So I think I accepted it on a Friday. My car and apartment was packed.
Did you accepted it right then and there too, right when he called you?
Yeah. So it was a bit of an unfortunate day. I walked out of we were in the middle of spring ball at Bryant. So I walked out of a position meeting with my guys, and I had a missed call from Sturz on my phone. And he had mentioned something was happening early on, but he when I called him back, he was like, I need to know, now things are moving quick. And I was like, I'm in. So I had to walk back in and tell my guys what was going on. And I think like Sturz was fired up for James. I think my guys at Bryant were that fired up for me. I mean, they were unbelievable. And I think that they were just super hyped and got behind and supported me and all that good stuff. And they believed in it 100%. So that made it a little bit easier, because I was not okay. I was not ready for that.
You were freaking out on them.
I was not all right.
That's crazy.
Anytime you got to say goodbye to a group of guys that you poured so much into them with, it's tough. So, but they were great. I went back to my apartment. I loaded it up. It's about a 12-hour drive from Bryant to Holland, and that was Saturday. And then Sunday morning, I was in the staff room with the rest of the guys, getting ready for spring ball. So I mean, it moved.
Was that back in March, right?
Yeah, that was back. Yep, right at the end of March. That last week of March, I think, was when when I got out here. But
did James call you back and say anything?
Yeah, so James, it was funny because, I would call him 3 times. He'd call me back twice. Neither of us would answer. And
playing phone tag,
because everything was just, I understood what he was going through, and he understood what I was going through. So when we finally did connect, he was kind of catching up, and I was catching up, because he's like, "Wait, you're the DC?" I was like, "I know." So it was
what a whirlwind!
It was crazy, just how fast everything moved. And I mean, he came through, and he was getting his stuff in a U-Haul finally, and we were able to catch up a little bit. But and then obviously through the camp circuit and things like that, we've been able to see each other too. But no, it's been a whirlwind, but I think we accomplished a lot in spring ball that I was looking to do. And I'm real close with the defensive staff that we got in place, and I believe in those guys. I mean, I played with one of them. He was an first team all-conference guy at DN for us. He's going to be our D-line coach. And then our corners coach is someone that I played for, and and got coached by Coach Geekus. He's one of the best in the business. So I feel really good about the defensive staff that we're building. We're still trying to put in a couple more pieces, but it's looking great. And I mean, the guys are learning it quick and picking it up fast. So everything's going the way it should in my mind at this point. And so we're looking good.
Well, that's exciting, man. So then, now that you're at Hope and you've finished spring ball and you're looking into the 2022 season here, and at this point, we had mentioned a little bit already Stuursma's success. I looked it up before we started recording because I knew his success was pretty, up there. He's 40-11 at Hope College in, I believe, 6 seasons. Yeah.
Wow.
And that includes the 2020 season where there was no football for D3. So really only 5 seasons, of actual football, but that's incredible. Obviously the last 2 MIAA conference championships, looking to repeat another conference championship ring added to the shelf this fall.
Yeah. I mean, I'll never say the C word. That's something that I tell the guys as well. It's just, obviously when I sit down with these guys in a one-on-one, at least on the defensive side, I don't know how Coach Hawk does it on the offensive side, but I want to hear your goals. Like that's the time where I want you to just lay it all out, right? So you're going to go bullet by bullet. What do you want to accomplish? Personal, team, academically, socially, things like that. I want you to just lay it all out for me. And then after that, I don't want to hear, and Coach Sturs has got the exact same message. I don't want to hear the C word. Just because it really is about being present, and it's about pouring in this precise moment. What are we going to do incrementally to get to that next block? And I think it's awesome the success that Hope has had under Coach Sturs, and that expectation has started to kind of get into the DNA of the team. But Coach Sturs he'll tell you that's the first thing that he doesn't sleep well at night is, okay, how are we going to get to the next level though? What are we going to do that pushes that thing a little bit further? So, I think last year they went 8-2. The year before they went 9-2. Back to back sounds awesome, but a three-peat sounds better, and winning every year after that sounds great too. But so kind of the hashtag, at least on the defensive side that we have right now, is just win the next one. And I leave it open-ended like that just because that's how I want it to be. I really want you to know. Well, what am I saying? Win the next conference championship, national? No, I'm just saying win the next one, right? Am I going to go to bed early enough to get 8 hours of sleep before workouts in the morning? Am I going to hydrate enough to make sure I whoop that workout's ass? Am I going to, whatever it is, right?
It's a good one. I like it. Whatever that next thing we got, you better dominate it, and I think that
mentality of doing everything you do at 100%.
That present mindset, I think, is what's going to help at least keep us focused on what we got to accomplish. Because if you get all grandured and you start looking off down the road, someone's going to sneak up and whoop your ass and you're not even going to know it, right? So you got to stay focused and kind of do the incremental changes and make sure that slow progress is earned, right? You got to take it every single day. So,
and I think a lot of the outside world, just going off kind of your mantra and what you're saying right now, the outside world doesn't realize how hard it is to win at the college level. Like we won a lot. We won in high school. You won in high school. But like high school football compared to college football, it is not even remotely similar in an aspect of like winning. It's so hard to win at the college level because you've got 11 guys on offense, 11 guys on defense. There's no top players. Everybody's the best player. Coaching is huge. It makes a huge impact. But if you have one weak link, you don't win in college football.
I think a lot of times, and it's I think there's something to be said about scheme and about, just coaching in general. But as a coach myself, I will always put the winning and the W's on the players, right? So, I mean, that at the end of the day is what's going to make or break your season and your win and loss column. So I think a lot of high school football is predicated on zip codes and county lines. And, are you a school of choice or, what kind of guys walking through the building within your given high school? And I think a lot of the times that's a lottery pick, So when you get to the college level and guys can come from anywhere in the country, it's like you said, it changes the game quite a bit because now That's not Backstreet. That's not the guy that Timmy from down the block. That's an all-conference kid that was in high school or all-state kid in high school, just like you were, you know. So it's all that minute stuff that you didn't really care about, right? Skipping that extra set of squats or whatever it is starts to come into play, I think, a lot more than people take for granted, like you had said. So
just the normal people, the normal football fan, like has no idea. And that's what we're trying to speak to. We're trying to let people know, like, you root for your Michigan Wolverines, your Michigan State, or whatever it is, you root for them. It's so hard to win. Like, it's not as easy as just like showing up on a Saturday and like, all right, we're going to do this. Like, no, not even close.
Well, and at that level too, I mean, it's crazy because I do have another question for you here, a little bit broader about MIAA football, but it kind of goes into what Kory's talking about here, because at the highest college level, you know, Power 5 Division I football, the differences, the little tiniest things can add up to an Alabama just blowing out Cincinnati. Well, Cincinnati actually held their own pretty good, but
Georgia blowing out Michigan.
I was going to say, sorry, Kory. Kory's a Michigan fan, but Georgia Michigan was a hell of a football team, and they just get blown out in the college football playoff. But that's like at that level, you know. And then think about from there to like the MAC, who is still, you know, FBS, but now is mid-major. Like, Georgia would hang 70.5 on Eastern Michigan, probably, you know, but then Eastern Michigan, you know, could play like, you know, my Hillsdale College Chargers and probably put up 40 or something and a half, you know. I mean, it's crazy when you go from that level to level, kind of the little differences that add up, but then within your own division, and, you know, at D2 and D3, I think there's a lot more parity, obviously, than there is at Division I. Brett Johnson, our other co-host, is going to get on my ass about this because I argue for the expansion of the college football playoff, and he's going to tell me that now I'm proving him right. But, you know, the D2 and D3 playoffs, you know, you do see D3, you know, it kind of depends. You know, obviously Mount Union and Whitewater tend to, you know, and even Mary Hardin, Baylor tend to, you know, run the show a bit more. But, you know, D2 as an example, I don't think you've had team in Division II win back-to-back national titles since like maybe Grand Valley, maybe Valdosta at one point might have won 2 in a row in the last 20 years. But, you know, you get there's so many other things, you know, so many other factors, and the talent gets spread out so much more, you know. And I think that some of that goes down to D3. You get a couple schools in the Division III level that get some crazy transfers, you know, which
recruit 500 kids
to help them out a little bit. But
you better be careful. Tony Anise is going to clip this podcast, and he's going to put that back-to-back championship deal at the highlight.
Hey, we're big Anise. We're big Tony Anise fans. Whenever he wants to be on the podcast, bring it on.
That dude, I don't know if I've met a more competitive individual, and Coach Sturz is going to be mad if he hears me say that, but than Coach Anise. Coach Anise is one of the best competitors that I've come across. That dude will compete about freaking chewing gum. He competes in everything he does. So. But
I wouldn't be surprised if they run it back next year.
No, absolutely.
Me neither.
But so on my little rant there, which I kind of got off topic a little bit, but one of the things that I wanted to ask you in regards to MIAA football, and I don't want to put you on the spot, don't want to you know, sound like I'm, you know, attacking the MIAA. We, you know, as part of our podcast and Twitter page, we're always trying to promote everything, you know, football in the state of Michigan, especially the MIAA. But one thing that I don't know how much coaches in the MIAA talk about it or are aware of it. But an MIAA team has not won a playoff game since Albion won the national championship in 90, I think it was 95. Whenever they won the national championship. So other than Trine, I
was just about to fact check you on that.
Trine. I was going to say, because I was thinking of the Michigan schools, the state of Michigan schools, Albion, Adrian, Kalamazoo, Olivet, Alma, Hope. Trine has won, I think, twice. They won one year, they went to the second round, and another year I think they made it to like the regional championship or something. They won like 2 games one year back in 2008, 2009. But other than that, you know, the Michigan schools have not. Why do you think that is? I mean, obviously part of it, from what I've followed along, is tough matchups. You know, Albion this year got paired up with Wisconsin lacrosse coming out of Whitewater's conference. Whitewater's conference and Mount Union's conference usually get 2 teams in You know, the MIAA I don't think the MIAA has ever gotten 2 teams in, but those conferences are so good that usually Whitewater, Mount Union, and then you get like, you know, an at-large bid. But yeah, I just be curious to hear, you know, as a coach who's you know played in the MIAA, and you know one of our best friends actually played at Trine, just missed. We give him crap. Just missed the conference championship season.
Missed
by
2
one
of them.
Yeah.
I think one after and 2.
One before he got there, and then one after. So we always give him crap about that. But yeah, I'd just be curious to hear someone's opinion on it who's involved actively in the MIAA, because I think it's, you know, it sucks. You know, as someone, you know, from the state of Michigan supporting, you know, college football, I'd love to see, you know, Hope or Albion or any of those schools, you know, make a name in terms of the national playoffs.
Sure. Yeah. And I think, I'm not naive to notice what's at least going on with the league. I think that a lot of attention was centered on winning the MIAA for a really long time. I think that was kind of a big point of emphasis for a lot of those Michigan teams.
Well, as you mentioned with your interview process at Hope, all those guys, that's what they were talking about.
Sure. And I think that, and not just Hope, I think as a league as a whole, even within the past 5 years, the talent within the league has gone up. I think that the league is getting better. I think there's more competitive players within the league, and I think there's a lot of different circumstances for why that might be. You know, whatever, if it's COVID or it's what's going on with the portal. I think that both of those could be contributing factors for why there's an uptick in talent. But I also just think it's got to be more centered around creative recruiting and competitive advantage in the recruiting process to really kind of boost an MIAA team to the next level. Like I said, the who that guy walking through the door is really going to dictate how many games you win and lose, right? So a lot of the guys that we compete over, and I'm not saying by any means that there's not talent in the state of football, or state of Michigan in football. But there's a lot of competing over the same guys within that group of schools, whether it's Hope, Olivet, Alma,
saturated
it's right. So it's very we go after the same group of guys, and I think that's probably why schools like a Mount Union or a North Central in Illinois.
They are pretty good too.
Right. It's just they get a pocket within these certain geographic areas, and they get a good competitive advantage in terms of recruiting. They're able to get their brand out there and sell it to the right type of guy. And it only takes a few different playmakers to suddenly you guys are now winning games and making runs, and now you're the school that these guys want to transfer down to if they decide that they value playing time over standing on the sideline, which is I think if you look at a lot of these teams that have won recently, at least at the national championship, there's a lot of D2 and FBS guys that have transferred back down because they value winning games and playing at these Division III schools. So I think that for an MIAA school to kind of take it to that next level, I think it's kind of twofold. It's doing all the things that we talked, just about just now, with all the fine details of getting, okay, once you got the guys in the door, what are they doing? What's the culture like? And then B, how can you expand your umbrella? And that's whether it's through admissions or just recruiting, to kind of broaden your search area for that talent pool. Just because it is, if a guy's on our radar, I guarantee you he's on Albion's radar, he's on Alma's radar, he's on Adrian, they see all the same guys at all the same camps that we go to as well. So it's kind of twofold, and how can we get that done to go to the next level? And in my opinion, I could be wrong. I just got here, right? So
no, I think you're right, because I'm going to use Whitewater as an example again. Kory's wife played college basketball at a D2 school in Wisconsin Parkside, but there is no D2 football in Wisconsin. So Wisconsin, if you live in the state of Wisconsin, you want to stay home in Wisconsin and play college football, you got the Badgers, Madison, Wisconsin, or the D3 conference. That's it. There's no FCS, there's no NAIA, there's no D2. That's it. So Whitewater, like you said, that geographical recruiting advantage. I mean, they're getting kids who probably in the state of Michigan would be playing in the GLIAC or the GMAC, but they don't have that there unless they want to leave the state, travel far, if they want to stay home, though, that's it. So Michigan is it's great in terms of from a fan standpoint. I mean, there's a lot of football. You get a lot of football you can follow and watch, and especially in the world of streaming and the internet. You can watch, even the lower levels, D2 and D3 and NAI. You can watch the stuff online now, which is great. But for you guys, it creates a hell of a competition, especially now that we have 4 NAIA schools here in the state that have really, revived and kind of started back up their programs within the last, Siena Heights came back around with their football program right around the time I was graduating back in 2011, 2012. And now you got Madonna, Lawrence Tech, Concordia. Yeah. They don't give a lot of money, but it's some money. And, you got 10 D2 schools. Then we also have 3 MAC schools and 2 Big Ten schools. You look at something like the state of Ohio, where they just have Ohio State, they don't have 2 Big Ten schools. So, it is crazy to think about in our state here. The competition for college football is pretty immense in terms of trying to get your brand out there and your name.
And I think broadly speaking, that's generally what's happened with, especially like you mentioned, the Wisconsin schools. But I think kind of what sets at least the Hope brand apart from all the others is just like when you have a staff, and this is recruiting in general, like we're buying what we're selling. So I mean, our goal is to by no means go out and just accept that all the talent's going to kind of disperse throughout the state. We still want you, right? We still want the best of the best.
Oh yeah,
to come to Hope College, and we're going to do everything we can to make that happen because we believe in the mission and we believe in the brand. So I mean, if we've got those 2 things in terms of competitive advantage going for us. But I think on a national scale, if you look at some of these other schools, that geographic and other levels of football that take place around you, it does have an impact for sure. There's no question about it. But if I could drive a bus around the state of Michigan and load up who we want, we're gonna be pretty dang good. I can tell you that.
There's a lot of talent. There's a lot of talent in the state of Michigan.
Yeah.
Kory, unless you have anything else, I was thinking there's probably about one other question I was going to ask Jake here before we get into the rapid round questions. Do you have anything else you want to add here? Otherwise, I can ask him one more question.
Let's move on with it.
So the last thing I wanted to ask, and then we'll get into our rapid round questions here, is one other thing I want to touch on. We've kind of talked about in some of other episodes here is this trend we're seeing with young coaches in college football, and even at high school. We've interviewed a few varsity football coaches in the last couple months here around the state of Michigan who have been hired in, who are very young. A guy that we played with against at East, formerly played at East Lansing, and then played down at where did FA play? At Bowling Green. Kory, was it Bowling Green? FA Scott Mockpour, who's 27, about your age, Jake, and just got hired to be a varsity football coach. We talked to Landon Grove, who was a Ferris State grad, just got hired. He's about 26, got hired at Grand Rapids West Catholic. But you're also seeing at the college ranks. I mean, you're 26, going on 27.
Yes, sir.
And Kory and I and our other co-host Brett have noticed that at every level, D2, D3, even Division I, a lot of young coaches getting hired, and even at the top dog spot, the head coaching spot. I'd just be curious to hear, if you have any thoughts on that, or what you think of it. I think it's pretty cool. I think it just kind of, kind of a new generation of coaches coming in. But in your experience, how is that in terms of your age? What is that? How has that been received? You already mentioned how the staff seems to have good camaraderie there, so I'm sure for you it's not a problem.
Yeah, in terms of internally, I don't know if age is. I don't know if age has been a thing that I've noticed. Just to be honest, I think that at least for myself, specifically, I think that outside in terms of the general landscape, a lot of, at least at the college level, the young hires in my mind is really centered on recruiting. Because I think that coaches, if they're confident in their abilities as a coach, right, like a vet that's been around the block, he can coach you up on anything that he wants. schematic, right? But how do you teach? How are you able to relate to these guys? Is really what, at least from my vantage point, from the guys that I've seen get hired and some of my friends that have gotten hired at these big time programs, the recruiting piece and relating to the guys is really what they're after. So those are the two big pieces that, at least for me, is the driving force on why there's so many young coaches getting hired. Now, obviously, there's guys that are just savants and they're way ahead of their time schematically or whatever it is. But I'm not taking anything away from them. But I think in general, it's more so how can you coach to these younger guys? How can you relate to these younger guys? And then can you translate what that coordinator or that head coach, whatever he's coaching you up to do, can you translate in a way that makes sense to those guys? So I think that's what primarily is driving the trend. But at Hope, I think Stur's just really kind of for the same reasons that I believe, wanted to come work for the guys. He just knew that I believe in the same mission. I believe in the product that we're trying to sell. And, he coached me up. I got to play for the man, and then he's been a mentor and a friend for the years after that. And so I think at this point knows what I'm about in general. And I think that he just thought that would be a great fit for where the direction he's trying to take the program and continuing to build it, So I don't know too much if he was just like, hey, I'm gonna hire this young kid to be the DC, or he just thought that it was the right fit culture wise and trying to get done what he's trying to get done. So.
Yeah, I would assume that age doesn't really matter. I just think it's an interesting trend. I think part of it too, because you're kind of seeing it with basketball too. I mean, someone locally here out of Lansing, Drew Valentine, who was the youngest coach in Division I basketball last year at Loyola Chicago. He's 32, I think, 32. I think he's 32.
Yeah, a couple years older than me. He was an 08 grad.
Yeah, I was going to say Sexton grad out of the same conference that we played in high school. But I think part of it is also we're at a generational shift in the last 10 years here, and it's really been amplified, since COVID. More and more people online and social media, and I'm sure with recruiting, you could attest to the positives and negatives to recruiting now through Twitter and social media and all that stuff. But again, it's not like you're going to change that. You can't change any of those things. I mean, it's here and you got to use it. Right. And if you got coaches who are, a guy like Mel Tucker's in his 50s seems to do a pretty good job with it. But then you got guys like, a Tom Izzo or even a Nick Saban who have no interest, in being involved in social media and using that kind of stuff. So it's like, how do you bridge the gap? So I think that's like your perspective, I think, is probably 100% correct. I think you got to find ways to bridge the gap. And some of that is relating with younger coaches. You have guys who grew, aren't that far removed from the current kids playing. So they can relate in terms of, social media and music and all that kind of stuff. And, as F.A. said, shoes and girls and things like that. There's some relatability, and I think kids get more attached to that. And then you bring them in off of that. But, they're going to get excited about a good coach like Coach Sturzma as well, obviously.
We love all of our followers, but we are not a university, just an FYI. You'd like this, Jake. Go ahead. We get Kory. 2 or 3 DMs a week that people are asking to come on visits to Great Lakes State University.
To be fair, I almost wonder if we're being mistaken for Lake State Superior, but Great Lakes State, I think, is a different name. But anyway, I don't know. Yeah, we have been DM'd a few times. Yeah,
there's some active kids out there, man. There's some active kids out there. Props to them. They know how to market themselves. Maybe not to the right people, but they're gonna name out there.
If we get one more DM where they're like, I'm 5'6", 104 pounds, and run like a 5'4" 40, I'm just gonna start being like, I'm just gonna start my own football team. Like the smallest football team on planet Earth.
The smallest football team. Just read our bio. Just read the bio. It's right there. We're a podcast talking about football. We're not a college. Yeah. Anyway, I thought you'd enjoy that. That's pretty funny. All right, Kory, got anything else? Otherwise, we'll wrap up with the rapid round questions here.
No, Jake, we appreciate you jumping on with us, and I'm excited to hear your rapid round answers.
Hey, absolutely, fellas. I appreciate you having me.
All right, Coach Pardonnet, here we go. Going through the rapid round questions. The pressure's on here. People want to hear your answers to some of these questions. So first one, if you're out, with friends or, you're just having dinner, whatever, and you had to choose between a craft beer or a whiskey, what are you going with? Craft beer or a bourbon from your favorite distillery?
I'm a big bourbon guy.
Bourbon guy.
Cheers.
I'm a big bourbon guy.
What's your go-to bourbon, whether it's something, big brand or maybe a local distill? You're on the west side of the state. You got all the breweries and distilleries over there.
So I actually just we had a bachelor party. I have a bottle of Knob Creek Single Barrel Reserve 9-year over there. So that's
a good one. I have that bottle.
I say Kory's got that.
It's got about a glass left. So.
that'll be a nice summer, weekend drink.
Yeah.
Finish it up here pretty soon.
Yeah.
I'm sure we know the answer to this one before I even ask it. But if you had to choose any sports team, any sport at any level, what's your favorite sports team?
Ooh, I gotta say it. Even with the pain and misery, it's still the Detroit Lions.
Stern.
Oh,
I thought you were gonna say Hope. I thought you were gonna say Go Dutchman.
I thought he was gonna say Michigan.
Oh, yeah, well, Hope. Yeah. That's on me.
Oh, Stirs. Oh, maybe I gotta cut this out.
Yeah, you might have to retract that. You might have to edit.
I gotta tell a funny story real quick. So in college, I wore a Michigan football camp shirt, like maybe third, fourth day of camp, and we're sitting in film with the head coach. Actually, he was my position coach, and he goes, "Michigan football. Would you rather be playing for them?" And I'm like looking at this dude, and I'm like,
yes.
Is he like trying to set me up? Like that is the stupidest question. I was like, well, yeah. Funniest thing. So it just reminded me of you saying
loaded question.
I'm like, dude, what? Like, are you on crack? Yeah, I would rather be playing for Michigan.
No, I still got to rep the brand.
We just gotta give you crap for that. But Detroit Lions, oh yeah, we're right there in the misery with you. We love our Lions, but
it's the hometown team, right?
Dan Campbell, love Dan Campbell. We love Dan Campbell. Third question here: if you could do it all over again, regardless of your ability, what sport, other than football, what sport would you do if you could do it all over again? Choose any sport you want, even if you're not good at it, to play it all the way through.
Ooh, play it all the way through. Am I great at it or I'm not good at it? What did you
You just want to choose whatever you want just because it looks like fun.
I love hockey. I do love hockey. Yeah.
Nice. Hockey, I love it. Well,
can you skate?
What's that?
Can you skate?
Skate? Well, no. Skate? We can call.
I can't skate. I can't skate at all. So
sure.
Next question here: favorite sports movie?
Ooh. I gotta go Friday Night Lights like that.
Oh, that's my go-to. Love it. All right, last question here, Coach. Pre-game hype song. What's your go-to? Whether you're playing as a player or even coaching now, what's your go-to pre-game hype song?
Ooh, pre-game hype song. What do I have going before we go out?
It could be since you started coaching, or if you remember something as a player.
Man, I used to just listen to angry stuff when I was playing. So I was a big Rage Against the Machine guy.
Yeah, you're speaking. Me and Kory used to work out in the gym with Slipknot and System of a Down, just blaring, just angry music.
I was a big Rage guy, so
Rage Against the Machine.
I would have to say that.
Nice, Killing in the Name, right?
Killing in the Name, absolutely.
Or Bulls on Parade. They got a lot of good songs.
At least it wasn't like WAP or anything crazy like that. That would be pretty chaotic. Come on.
Yeah, that's so about pregame. I don't know about pregame.
Wrong pregame.
Yeah, different kind of pregame. There you go. Exactly.
Right.
Well, all right, Coach. We've had you on for about an hour here. We'll wrap things up. Before I let you go, anything you want to plug? I'm sure you want to plug Hope College if you want to. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. I just think it's an exciting time on campus. I think it's an exciting time on at least the team, the atmosphere. We're trying to build something special. So come to a game. Come check us out this fall. It's a great time, great atmosphere. A lot of new buzz and new activities going on. So And that's not just for players, right? Come on, you guys come on out too. Come check us out.
We'll be there.
I'll be coaching, so Saturdays will be tough because we'll be as a staff meeting. But Kory and Brett, my other co-host here, plan on trying to get out and expand our brand,
full fall,
expand the brand this fall, get into some games, college and high school. So that's the plan.
Absolutely, I'm looking forward to it.
All right, Coach, appreciate having you on. Thanks for taking the time tonight.
I appreciate it, fellas. Thanks.
Hope you enjoyed our conversation there with Coach Pardonnet, the defensive coordinator at Hope College here in Holland in the beautiful state of Michigan. Definitely be looking to see the Dutchmen repeat as conference champs this fall. Looking for them to have a lot of success. Good luck to Coach Pardonnet and Coach Stuursma and the Flying Dutchman over at Hope College this fall. All right, so we're going to go ahead and wrap things up here with recommendation of the week, which is me. I just remembered Brett was last week and Kory was the week before, so I believe it's my turn to make a recommendation of the week. And for this week, I'm going to recommend, I've done it a couple times, I'm going to do it again, recommend a movie. As of right now, it's really soaring on word of mouth, and that is the new sequel to Top Gun Maverick. More than 30 years after the original came out. It's been delayed many times because of COVID, and it finally was released about a month ago. It just almost set a record. It is the first movie since Avatar, and only the second movie ever in box office history to make more than $40 million in its fourth weekend. That does not happen much anymore, because what you see now with movies is everyone, especially with Marvel, with spoilers online, everyone goes opening weekend. So pretty much everyone wants to see it goes immediately the opening weekend. What's happening with Top Gun Maverick, which we have not seen this with a major movie in a while, is word of mouth. I recommended Everything Everywhere All at Once, I believe, on this podcast. That's another movie that was getting big word of mouth, excitement, buzz around it. But Top Gun Maverick is killing it at the box office. Just became Tom Cruise's highest grossing film ever, beating out the last Mission Impossible movie. It's closing in on $1 billion worldwide. If it hits $1 billion, it's got to be the first non-Disney movie, meaning a Disney animated movie, Marvel movie, Star Wars movie, to hit $1 billion maybe since the last Jurassic Park movie, because that's not Disney.
That's
I don't
crazy.
know. Yeah, there hasn't been a lot of movies that have hit $1 billion outside of Disney's in the last 5 years or so. So I'd have to go look that one up. But that part doesn't really matter so much. Obviously, the box office stuff is interesting, but I'm excited for it doing well because it's not a Marvel, Disney, Star Wars. It's something else. And even though it is a sequel, it is how a sequel should be done. And what I mean by that is it exceeds the original in every possible way. There's very little CGI. All of the fighter sequences, the fighter plane sequences were done for real. They stuck the actors in 2 cockpit fighter jets with an actual fighter pilot in the pilot seat and the actor in the back with cameras making it seem like they're piloting the jet. Tom Cruise, obviously being an insane man, does all that stuff for real. He always does and always has, always will. I saw it in IMAX with a friend of mine a few weekends ago, and it was like riding a roller coaster. Like my adrenaline, I was like shaking with adrenaline when I got out of there on that big IMAX screen. I mean, those fighter jet sequences they put the IMAX cameras in the jet, and it looks like you are flying there with them. They're breathtaking. The sequence is unbelievable, but the characters also, how they incorporate new characters and then bring back some of the old ones is really well done. It's actually has a lot of great emotional beats and some great character arcs, and it's a great time at the movies, man. If you want a exciting, action-packed, really well written and executed, just different movie too. We're so overblown right now with CGI and Marvel movies and all that stuff. To see a movie that uses practical effects and real stunts, and it's not a Disney movie, it's something else. It's fun. It's a lot of fun, and I would highly recommend checking it out. But a lot of people are enjoying it. Audiences and critics alike right now are loving it. So Top Gun Maverick, definitely go check it out. That's my recommendation of the week. All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up here. Thank you for listening and or watching. Speaking of which, if you want to follow along for everything we're doing, head over to Twitter. Follow us at GLSFBall, spelled BALL. Instagram, we are Great Lakes State Football. Follow us there. Please subscribe to us on YouTube if you want to check out the video versions of this podcast. Great Lakes State Football over on YouTube. Please like those videos. Leave a comment with your thoughts. If you enjoy the audio episodes, make sure you add us to your library, either on Apple or Spotify. Give us a 5-star review at one of those podcast sites and leave a comment there as well. Tell us how much you love us. I'm Vince with co-host Kory. Co-host Brett is in spirit from California. Great Lakes State Football, episode 23. Go Green and go Chargers.
Go Blue.